Namaskara. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome today's chief guest, Professor Gurmeet Singh, Vice Chancellor, Pondicherry University. Guest of honors, Professor B.B. Mohanty, Dean School of Social Sciences and International Studies. Dr. Richa Tiwari, Chair Sri Aurobindo. Ms. Rishita Gupta, Project Director of District Rural Development Agency, Pondicherry Government. Shri Pradeep Narangji, Chairman of Sri Aurobindo Society. Dr. Belu Mehra, Senior Academic Mentor at Aurobindo. Mr. Shivakumar, Director of Sri Aurobindo Foundation for Integral Education and Research. Dr. V. Ananda Reddy and Dr. Nandakishore. Dear friends, darkness couldn't drive out the blackness, only light can accomplish so. Let us hope that the brightness of teachings of Sri Aurobindo and Mother overcome the darkness of decision, injustice, and aggression in society and lead us to growth, equality, and liberty. Now I would request dignitaries on the stage to proceed with the lightings of the lamp.
I would now like to start with felicitating our guests here. I would like to call Vijay Medargi from the Department of Politics and International Studies to kindly honor our chief guest, Professor Gurmeet Singh Ji, the Vice Chancellor of Pondicherry University.
Now I would request Dr. Richa Tiwari, Chair of Sri Aurobindo, to deliver an address to introduction to Sri Aurobindo Chair.
A very good morning to everyone here. With immense delight and lot of warmth, I welcome all of you today to the inaugural seminar of Chair of Sri Aurobindo at Pondicherry University. I would like to begin by welcoming our esteemed guests, Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Gurmeet Singh Ji, Professor B.B. Mohanty, Dean School of Social Sciences and International Studies, Shri Pradeep Narangji, Chairman Sri Aurobindo Society, Ms. Rishita Gupta from the Department of Rural Development, Pondicherry Government, Deans, Head of Departments, faculty members, Professor Anand Reddy, our panelists, Dr. Nandakishore, Dr. Belu Mehra, Mr. Shiv Kumarji, Mrs. Preeti Uma Maheshwaram, all distinguished guests, and most of all, my dear students. I welcome all of you to the inaugural seminar of the Chair of Sri Aurobindo. This is indeed a historic day, a day which is the result of sincere aspiration, divine intervention, persistent action, and strong will. Towards this, first and foremost, I extend my heartfelt gratitude to our respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Gurmeet Singh, for his perseverance and diligent effort in making this day a reality. I would also like to thank Ministry of Home Affairs and the University Grants Commission. It had perhaps been a vacuum that in a place of excellence like Central University of Pondicherry and the spiritual Karma Bhumi of Sri Aurobindo, there was, until now, no special academic center or chair instituted for research on Sri Aurobindo. During this 75th year of India's independence, it will be significant to mention that when India attained her liberation in the year 1947, it was on 15th August, the birthday of Sri Aurobindo. So I believe that it is also perhaps not by chance that the chair of Sri Aurobindo was instituted at Pondicherry University in the 150th birth anniversary year of Sri Aurobindo. It is indeed a befitting tribute to Sri Aurobindo, the revolutionary prophet of nationalism, scholar, poet, evolutionary philosopher, and a yogi. Sri Aurobindo believed that man is a transitional being. The resultant evolutionary crisis of mankind has made it essential that the approach of humanity towards national and global issues becomes progressively integral. The model of a new world order has better chances of sustaining itself when the individual and the aggregate accept the principle of plurality and respect each other's progress as distinct entities as well as complementary realities. In this light, the message and philosophy of Sri Aurobindo becomes an essential and relevant force for establishing sustainable peace and harmony, for true ideals of nationalism, and for a lasting model of internationalism. Future relevance of Sri Aurobindo's philosophy lies in its ability to help mankind develop the spiritual capital of human race by means of a truly integral philosophy, synthesis of matter and spirit, unity in diversity, and, most importantly, development of an inner oneness that nurtures the genuine need of mind, body, and spirit of the individual, nation, and humanity. With this in mind, the chair of Sri Aurobindo attempts to undertake activities to effect an inner re-engineering of the mind, body, and spirit, and to address the issues from the very point of their origin through well-curated degree programs, diplomas, certificate courses, internships, webinars, and workshops. Most of the contemporary problems facing humanity are largely and deeply grounded in ideological differences. These problems would keep multiplying if we keep treating them superficially and externally. With this aim, the chair is committed to make efforts to enlighten the youth with a new vision and hope for mankind through Sri Aurobindo's voluminous works. The aim of this chair will be to extend the philosophy and life and social values of Sri Aurobindo to every section of the society through the process of learning, education, and research. The academic functions of the chair will also include contribution to the advancement of knowledge in different areas of study and strengthen the role of university in public policy making through research activities. In addition to short-term capacity building programs, the chair will also act as a forum for inter-university and intercollegiate, postgraduate and research level dialogue, discussion and meetings. Other activities would include publishing research articles, reports, books, monograms, and participating in teaching and PhD programs. At the same time, we do not wish to limit the scope of study of Sri Aurobindo's literature to the realm of philosophy, as philosophy may not be everyone's cup of tea. Efforts will therefore be made towards interdisciplinary approach of understanding Sri Aurobindo. Philosophy continues to be our foundational basis, but we can bring in practical aspects through other disciplines. For example, to develop practical understanding of Sri Aurobindo's concept of integral education, we can collaborate with the Department of Education. Through the Department of Social Work, we can understand how Sri Aurobindo's message can be percolated to the society. Women's studies is another such area. The idea is to focus on different people at different levels so as to be directly useful to a wide section of society. In a nutshell, a chair with practical orientation and vision. Ano Bhadra Kritavo Yantu Vishvataha. Let noble thoughts come from all sides. With this in view, the Chair also enthusiastically seeks collaboration and cooperation with all stakeholders, including the Government of Pondicherry, Sri Aurobindo Society, Sri Aurobindo Ashram and Aurobindo Foundation in working towards a common goal of spreading the message of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Pondicherry University is a premier central institution, and having a chair of Sri Aurobindo will only enhance its value. At the same time, the idea of Sri Aurobindo and Pondicherry cannot be separated. Pondicherry has its own history, but anyone who speaks of Pondicherry, the foremost thing that comes to mind is Sri Aurobindo. It is Sri Aurobindo who has made Pondicherry a global town, and this chair will be an extension of that global vision of Sri Aurobindo. It will work as a center for debates, discussions, and culmination and convergence of brilliant minds, academicians, and intellectuals who come as tourists to Pondicherry to visit the Samadhi of Mother and Sri Aurobindo. With a good library and academic environment, the chair at Pondicherry University can provide a very good platform and venue for activities of research and formal and informal discussion groups. It can also facilitate interaction with the diaspora of student body from all across India. In his epic work, Savitri, Sri Aurobindo said, "We may find, when all the rest has failed, hid in ourselves the key to perfect change." Sri Aurobindo believed that spirituality is the master key of the Indian mind. As a nation, it is our utmost duty to find our true calling and to find in ourselves the aspiration and inspiration, the fire and the force to conceive and to execute. This is perhaps a fitting tribute that we can give to Sri Aurobindo through this chair. Thank you so much. Jai Hind.
Now I'll call upon Professor B.B. Mohanty, Dean of School of Social Sciences and International Studies, to deliver the opening remarks.
Very good morning to all of you. Respected Vice Chancellor of Pondicherry University, Professor Gurmeet Singh, Sri Pradeep Narangji, Chairman of Sri Aurobindo Society, Madam Rishita Gupta, Project Director, Department of Rural Development of Government of Pondicherry, Dr. Richa Tiwari, the Chair of Sri Aurobindo of Pondicherry University, distinguished delegates from Aurobindo Ashram and Aurobindo Foundation, and our colleagues from the university, invitees, students and friends. Really, I share the happiness with Dr. Richa Tiwari. I am extremely delighted that Sri Aurobindo Chair, which was a long due for Pondicherry University, we got it established, and we are all thankful to our respected Vice Chancellor, Professor Gurmeet Singh, for his initiative, using his personal and official connections to get the chair established in Pondicherry University. And now, under this chair, actually, this is the first event where actually the seminar is titled as Celebrating Life and Philosophy of Sri Aurobindo. It's very appropriately titled. Sri Aurobindo's life and philosophy are intimately connected, as I understand, and his philosophy is the reflection of his life. You know, he has not actually, based on the reading, he has not developed his philosophy, based on his experiment with life and based on his experience. So, understanding his life is as important as understanding his philosophy. So it is a very well conceptualized theme, and I know I have read this book written by the noted Aurobindo studies scholar and who is a very well-known scholar on Aurobindo philosophy, Haridas Chaudhary, who has written actually he has made a kind of very scholarly account of Aurobindo's philosophy. What he says that Aurobindo led 5 to 6 different lives in one single lifetime. He was a very reputed intellectual, academic scholar and poet, and also he was a freedom fighter. He led the national movement. and he was also a kind of, he was a yogi and philosopher, and at last he was a guide and guru. So this was the kind of, these were different phases of his life. And each phase is distinct, and in each phase his contribution is outstanding and comparable to the figures of the modern world at that time in the respective field. He as a philosopher, he was ranked at par with Hegel and others, and as a poet he was ranked with Sri Rabindranath Tagore, and as a nationalist leader, as a freedom fighter, he was compared with Gandhi, and as a yogi he was ranked with Ramana Maharshi. So she is such a kind of powerful kind of personality. Each aspect, each phase of his life has a kind of distinct contribution, and he has actually, he was dreaming, and he had dreamed of a kind of perfect earth and perfect man. So it's a kind of so powerful philosophy. And there was a sociologist called Pitrim A. Sorokin, who was professor at the Harvard University, and he was contemporary of Aurobindo. He was younger, but contemporary of Aurobindo. He has actually, while assessing Aurobindo's work, he said that Aurobindo's philosophy was very powerful, and it has provided a kind of a sound antidote to the pseudo-scientific understanding of the West, and also the psychology and educational art of the West. And he says he was the greatest living sages of that time and most eminent moral leader. And not only that, many scholars of repute at that time, they have highly praised Aurobindo's work and philosophy. Even Tagore, Rabindranath Tagore himself, he said that India in future will speak in Aurobindo's voice. That actually is happening now. Aurobindo actually, he, all of you know that he was educated in the West. His part of his schooling was in England, and then he studied in Cambridge University. He has read almost all the important philosophers' work at that time. He was critical of the West, but he did not reject West. He was critical of India also, but he tried to actually build up a kind of integration between the highest core values of East and the West. And he was critical of Western dualism and the Western binary that between mind and matter, the binary which was existing between God and the world, and the binary which was existing between nature and spirit, one and many. So he said all these are inseparable. They are the part of the unified whole, unified reality, comprehensive reality, encompassing reality. So they cannot be separated. So this was a kind of powerful message which he gave to the rest of the world. And he was also critical of the India at the 19th century India, when he was telling that the 19th century India is imitative. It is self-forgetful. You remember, self-forgetful, and it is forgetful, and it is artificial. And it is trying to reproduce successfully the Europe in India. So he was saying that if we would have succeeded Europeanizing India, we would have lost our spiritual wisdom. The capacity for self-innovation, and many more qualities which is a part of the Indian heritage, rich heritage. We would have lost it, but somehow we have not actually, we have put a check, we have not Europeanized India as a whole. So therefore, he was critical of the West, and many of these Western philosophers he has read and he has criticized. All of us, we understand Marx in one end and Aurobindo in the other end. And Aurobindo read Marx very thoroughly. He read Marx. He was critical of the Marx. He did not reject Marx altogether. He accepted part of Marx. He accepted Marx because when he said that Marx's ideas are forceful in shaping the progressive moment of the history. And he appreciated that both of them have a similar kind of concern about the consequences of the capitalism, the evils of the capitalism. He was appreciative of the Marx, but at the same time, he rejected Marx's idea about dialectical materialism, historical materialism, caste, class struggle, and he did not like that the Marx ideas on economic determinism. That he did not like. That is not correct. Marx is fallacious. Marx is fallacious. You know what I feel? Marx died at the age of 65. He died in 1883, and Aurobindo was born in 1872. When Marx died, Aurobindo was 11 years old, and he at that time probably he did not read Marx. Afterwards, he read Marx, but Marx did not wait to read Aurobindo. He left early, and Aurobindo died at the age of 78. Marx died at the age of 65. My understanding is that if Marx would have survived for some more years, he would have completed his entire phase of his life, and he left early in advance of his one phase. So therefore, his philosophy is not a kind of complete philosophy, because Aurobindo himself read Marx, and he was also more of a kind of Marxian than Marx himself at one point in time. So that means he had a kind of complete understanding of the entire kind of evolution of life. So therefore, his philosophy and his understanding is so powerful. It is really actually he has written so much. It needs to be actually explored further, and we need to understand more Aurobindo and his writings. The Haridas, Haridas Chaudhary, he has rightly put that actually Marx has understand. Aurobindo has three problems in mind when he was developing his philosophy. One, actually, the central paradox was that why India, which is so rich and having a kind of profound wisdom, how it is so backward economically, socially, and politically. How this, and can we blame this backwardness, or can we blame spiritualism for this backwardness? That was his concern. He tried to answer also that. And second point, actually, he was trying, what actually popular conception, he was trying to negate that complete liberation of life and self-knowledge cannot go together with worldly life or active physical life and social participation. It cannot go. But Aurobindo said, no, it is not correct. Both can go together and enrich the life, actually spiritual life also. The active participation in physical life or social participation, that will also enrich the spiritual life, and both are complementary and supplementary. In fact, actually, he provided a kind of very good idea, creative idea for the problems of modern civilization. But unfortunately, the Indian intelligentsia, and particularly the left, they marginalize Aurobindo, categorizing him as a kind of a religious leader. But his philosophy has nothing to do with religion. He talks, his philosophy is a kind of philosophy of the mankind, for the humanity as a whole. He does not talk of any sect or any kind of any part of the population. So therefore, he is so powerful, and his writings are so powerful and so rich. He has produced volumes of literature, and some of them are published during his lifetime, and many remain unpublished. So we need to understand him more and try to connect his philosophy with the contemporary kind of changes and happenings which are taking place. And I am sure the Aurobindo chair, which is established in Pondicherry University, will take the lead, and as he pointed out, we will have so many more events of like this, and also we will have some kind of serious debates and discussions, and some publications will come out, and many more students in due course of time, they will be motivated to undertake research. I think it's a very appropriate kind of decision of the Government of India. We are grateful and thankful to Government of India, and now Government of, though it is late, but it is still it's a kind of wise decision, and we are thankful to our Vice Chancellor who has taken all the initiative. Using, as I told you, using his personal and official connection, going out of the way to see that this chair is established in Pondicherry University. Now we will get the fruits of this plant in future. So I will stop here. I wish the seminar a grand success. Thank you everybody for your patient listening.
Thank you, sir, for the opening remarks. Ms. Rushita Gupta is a 2019 batch IAS officer. Then she joined Puducherry government in 2021. Currently, she is serving as a project director of the District Rural Development Agency, Puducherry government. Now I request Rushita Gupta ma'am to deliver the special.
A very good morning to everyone. respected Vice Chancellor of Pondicherry University, Professor Gurmeet Singh Sir, Dr. B.B. Mohanty, Dean of Social Science and International Studies, Pondicherry University, Shri Pradeep Narangji, Chairman of the Shri Aurobindo Society, Dr. Richa Tiwari, Chair of Shri Aurobindo, all the esteemed guests, delegates, students, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express sincere gratitude to VC Sir to make Pondicherry government as part of this institution, and it is my utmost pleasure to be present at this seminar and conference. After having heard Richa ma'am and Mohanty sir, I'm really short of words. I prepared 3 pages, but I feel it's just fruitless to be able to add to what they've already spoken about Shri Aurobindo and how this chair envisages to and promote the ideals and goals that have been envisaged by Shri Aurobindo. So I'll just brief about this collaboration that has happened between Government of Puducherry and Pondicherry University for the first time ever. So this all started in the month of December 2022. The Honorable Prime Minister laid out a vision that all the union territories of the country are the major pillars of growth and development of our nation. And he conceptualized a conference where all the UTs took part and presented the various ideas of economic, social and political development which would be steered by the union territories and could be replicated across the country. During such conference, the Honorable Home Minister of Government of India highlighted how Shri Aurobindo is an indispensable part of the Pondicherry as an identity. As Madam has rightly said, that you cannot think of Pondicherry and Shri Aurobindo as 2 separate entities. So it was actually his vision that we as the government take this step and work towards making the ideas of Shri Aurobindo accessible to all and everyone around there. To be very honest, we all know that despite the immense contribution of Shri Aurobindo in the field of literature, philosophy, social work and the development of society, there's still a huge part of our society who is not aware of these things and who are bereft of his ideas and thinking. And that's actually has been a sad part, and this chair now established in the university would seek to undo that loss that we've had. And we all know that there is no dearth of resources to understand Shri Aurobindo, his personality, his vision. But the reach of the same has been limited to the bookshelves, hearts and minds of all the Indians. And there is, I feel, a collective onus on all of us as academicians or administrators or people working in the various sectors of the non-government organizations to bring in the values of Shri Aurobindo at the mainstream discussions. It is a spiritual and inner freedom that alone can create a perfect human order. As Shri Aurobindo has always highlighted, that freedom of thoughts, soul and the self is the way of towards realization of spiritualism, and these among his other ideas of integral vision are I think are most important to us as a society right now. We all know how we are facing issues and crises of self, individual and as a society, and every day we reach out to some panacea for all of that. All of our problems, whether it is individual problems of existential crisis, not being able to identify ourselves with where we are, or of the society as a general. I really believe that these ideas, not as just philosophy, but internalization of its in our conscious living being would definitely show us a way towards enabling a better future and better vision of humanity. I can also relate to Shri Aurobindo because he started his journey with being a civil servant, although he left the services in beginning itself, but he worked in the government of Gujarat at very early positions. So his understanding of public service is not only from the idea of social service but also as a larger administrative service. So in one of his discussions, he highlighted the idea of Swaraj, of ideas of village as a self-autonomous, self-sustainable institutions, and how the colonial mindset was staring it away and tearing it apart. So why I quoted this is that I realized that even as administrators, we need to keep reminding ourselves of his vision, which can enable us, not if not solving all the problems that we face, but then really understand the fundamental of what we are trying to achieve. So this just highlights the fact that there is so much that we need to know about Sri Aurobindo, and this attempt of collaboration of Government of Puducherry and Chair is in a way to start something on that ground. So I would just extend my heartfelt gratitude to Pondicherry University for taking up this initiative and also allowing the Government of Puducherry to take part in it. And I hope and I really wish that we work together towards this vision, and in years coming down the line, people should not just be aware of the name of Sri Aurobindo, but once they hear this name, they should have energy within themselves to know that peace is right just there. Thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am, for the address. Shri Pradeep Narangji is a chairman of Sri Aurobindo Society, drawn to the teachings of Sri Aurobindo and Mother. Pradeep Bhai, as he is affectionately called by everyone, decided to dedicate himself to spreading the light of their vision in various ways, giving up an illustrious business career. In his 4 decades of dedicated service to the Mother and Sri Aurobindo Society, he has guided the setting up and management of many schools run by the society across the country, besides overseeing several other aspects of work at Sri Aurobindo Society. Now I call upon Shri Pradeep Narangji to deliver the special address.
Respected Gurmeet Singh Ji, my dear colleagues on the dais, and all my friends sitting there, my colleagues, I always felt that something was missing in the Pondicherry University. And today, or last month, when the chair was installed, I think the Pondicherry University is now complete. It was about time that Sri Aurobindo's chair was installed here. If not here, then where else? And finally it has happened. And the whole objective of this chair is to disseminate the teachings of Sri Aurobindo. You do it through philosophy, you do it through education, through which department that you have to decide. But what I would suggest, what you have to add, Richa, here, is applied spirituality, which is something missing. Whatever knowledge we may garner, Sri Aurobindo has written an ocean. He has left a huge amount of knowledge to us. There's so much to read, so much to absorb, so much to assimilate, but also that assimilation, unless it is translated into action and applied in life, it just remains information. And the Mother has gone out of her way to tell us how to apply it in our lives. And our entire concentration in Sri Aurobindo Society is how to apply it in our lives. Because unless there is application in life, no knowledge is worth it, frankly. How is Sri Aurobindo different? My colleague here has written a whole article on this as to how Sri Aurobindo, what is new in Sri Aurobindo. I think most of us know what is new in Sri Aurobindo, but let me reiterate a little bit. You know, very often it is said that Sri Aurobindo starts where the Gita ends. This is a subject, this is an issue. I think my dear friend Anand Reddy would write a whole book on this. The Sri Aurobindo starts where the Gita ends. Gita's triple avenues to God is very well known, to karma, knowledge, action, etc., etc. And Arjun did that. He received the knowledge. He received, and when he came to know who he was, the love came up and the bhakti came up, and then he fought the war with complete offering to Lord Krishna. So, all these triple avenues meet at one point, according to the Gita, and it happened. But what is so different? Why do we say that with Gita ends, Sri Aurobindo starts? What does it really mean? The mind prays through knowledge, through heart prays through bhakti. How does the body pray? Difficult to answer that question as to how does the body pray. And it is said, the body, when it's consecrated action, the body also begins to pray, and the cells of the body awaken when you consecrate your actions, your thoughts, your emotions. If they are consecrated, then the body begins to awaken, and it awakens. It plays a role because it is an instrument of the soul, but it stops at a point. The integrality is not completed. The change, transformation has to come in the body also. And that transformation is possible through a descent of consciousness which happened in 1956. That is the promise that matter also will be divinized and body will also change. Because body is an instrument of the soul, and once the body begins to change, the transformation takes place, then the integrality is complete. This is where Sri Aurobindo's greatest contribution is, and this is why they say that Sri Aurobindo starts where the Gita ends. I listened very carefully to what Professor Mohanty had to say about Marx and Sri Aurobindo. What would have happened if Marx addressed Sri Aurobindo? This is a question that you put. If you ask me, if Marx had read Sri Aurobindo, he would not have written Das Kapital. Or at least it would not have been in this shape. Perfection of matter, management of matter, here we're talking of the height of the excellence of the spirit. And poor Marx would have been highly confused in the first stage. Then after the confusion, some knowledge would have dawned on him, some light would have dawned on him, and he would have changed Das Kapital completely. Because Sri Aurobindo is, I may tell you in one word, different. What he has written from complete experience. I would read Savitri right from the beginning to the end with Marx, because it is his total and complete experience which he has put in Savitri. That's why they call Savitri the fifth Veda. And again, Anand Reddy would write a whole book on that. The fifth Veda. Think about it, Anand. It is something, it is so true. Savitri is the fifth Veda. It goes way, way beyond. I mean, it takes us right up. I mean, somewhere, it is unbelievable heights, unbelievable depths. And Savitri must come to you. You won't go to Savitri. I know it from experience that Savitri comes to you, and when it comes to you, it grips you and doesn't let you alone. And it goes right into your being, into your cells, into your mind, and into everything that happens. And this is, my dear friends, Richard, what you have to explain to the students who come to Sri Aurobindo through the chair. Because this chair has to be a very effective instrument if Sri Aurobindo's teachings have to be disseminated. And they have to be disseminated. The mandate which the mother gave us to Sri Aurobindo Society is just one line. She said, the objective of registering Sri Aurobindo Society was that Sri Aurobindo's message should be spread far and wide, and that's it. That's the only objective. How you do it, through what actions you do it, through education, through philosophy, as you said, or through whatever, to history, through poetry, to literature, whatever it might be, because you can go through to Sri Aurobindo through all the avenues possible. And this university can give you all that you require to really disseminate this, now that you have the chair. And I really thank the Vice Chancellor for this great, great action of completing your own I really look forward. I can assure the head of this chair that Sri Aurobindo Society, Sakar, the ashram, all of us will go out of our way to cooperate with you, to collaborate with you, to make your mission successful.
Thank you for your address, sir. Now I would request Professor Gurmeet Singh to give the presidential address.
Shri Pradeep Naranji, Ms. Rishita Gupta, Professor B.B. Mohanty, and Dr. Richa Tiwari, and all the dignitaries sitting here, my colleagues from various departments, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin with an apology because I was late and I don't want to give any reason. I'm late, that's it. And we have lost a lot of time. Rather than my telling this was the reason and that was the reason. But well, when somebody is late and you get this time to focus on what you have to do during the day, during your month, during your life. This is one where one can really concentrate and decide on. This is a very rare occasion when you get such a time, but nevertheless, we are here for a very important celebration. You would recall wherever I go in Pondicherry, whatever function I attend, whatever debates or celebrations I go in for, I always begin with 3 words, and I'll repeat it here. That Pondicherry is a place which is very spiritual, rightly so, which is very rejuvenating. You come from any part of a country, the moment you enter into the arena of Pondicherry, you somehow feel so energetic, so rejuvenated, that you feel like going on and on. And third, very positive place. You may have all kinds of negative feelings wherever you are coming from, that I will do this for that, I'll destroy this fellow, do this. The moment you set your foot in here, positivity begins, that how best I can contribute, what best I can do, what way I can contribute to the society. These are the thoughts which will start emanating from your mind and which will reflect all over, and the society would become a better society to be in. Now when I joined here, the first thing I asked here, let me also tell you anecdote or whatever way you put it. I was trying to visit Pondicherry during my long academic career of about 30 years before I came here. And I would have been visiting IIT Chennai, CLRI, many other organizations in Chennai. And on all those occasions, I tried my best to visit Pondicherry. I could not, for some reason or the other. Once I remember the director of an institute said, this time you must go to Pondicherry, visit Sri Aurobindo Ashram and feel blessed. I said, yes, I have a full day at my disposal. Brand new car he gave me, I remember. And I've been telling this to my friends. We crossed Mahabalipuram and I don't know, something went wrong with that car. And the driver said it will take 2 hours, we will organize something else. And I had my return flight in the evening, so somehow that occasion also failed. Finally, I landed here, and when I came here, the first thing I talked to my colleagues about is that what are the subjects we have, and how come we are not having something to do with Sri Aurobindo. There should have been a chair of Sri Aurobindo. There should have been a full-fledged department on Sri Aurobindo. Ideally speaking, this university should have been named Sri Aurobindo University. But then, I don't know, for whatever reasons, Pondicherry University was named Pondicherry. Fine, that also has a right kind of a reflection for everybody. And I said, why is it that we are moving ahead without a philosophical study of Sri Aurobindo? The whole world looks up to that. No reason was given. They said we had a chair. Well, we did have a chair, let me tell you. Most of you may not, 99.9% people are not aware that Pondicherry University, when it started with a chair on Sri Aurobindo, but then nobody followed it up, and within 2 years, it went in absolute oblivion and nobody revived that. So when I came here, I started discussing this with the official, and we tried our best to have a chair. All kinds of questions as the red tapeism goes in the bureaucracy. Rishta is here, probably she'll take it on in a better way. some objection or this side or that side and queries about who will run it, who will budget it, how much, and what are the plans. Then a year and a half passed by and I said, well, this way things will not work. Let's start collaborating with them and then start designing a course. We did design a course and it ran. I think Dr. Belumara did give some lectures in that, and there was another gentleman who is not here. He also gave some lectures. The program took off and people started benefiting. When I started talking to some of the students who were attending, I found that there was a sea change in those students. They were better human beings, they were better focused to take on, and I think we should have kept a data of those who studied this and where they are as compared to the one who never paid any attention to the life and philosophy of Sri Aurobindo, where they are. Probably this itself would be a very lightning feature of the fact that anybody who follows will certainly be a person who will not walk into the darkness of life. But that's the way it is. You can't be forcing anybody to do everything. So this way, after a relentless effort of 2 years, with number of letters to various ministries, anybody I would meet, they'll say, well, this is no problem. Within 2 months, you will have the chair. And I used to tell people, just 2 months, you will have Sri Aurobindo chair. But then time passed on, and after 2 years of relentless efforts, finally we got one. And when I met Home Minister during his visit here, I said the same issue I raised. I said, we desperately need this chair if you have to improve the society here. I thought it's a casual mention I made, and Home Minister is such a busy person. Who will remember who talked about what over a casual cup of tea? Shri Pradeep Narangi was also there on that table. I think probably Reddy Sir was also there. I said, who's going to remember? That's about it. But to my surprise, when we had a Vice Chancellor conference in Rashtrapati Bhavan, everybody was there, and I was called by the Minister of Education. He said, did you say something to Shri Amit Shah ji? I said, I did say that. This is regarding establishment of this. He says he had made a special mention of this, that this has got to be there within the next 2 months. And he called UGC chairman. He said, this is what it is. Please ensure that whatever request has come from Pondicherry, it should be pushed through. And within the next 2 months, by October last year, we had the chair in place. This is the first ceremony that we are having, first celebration. And I'm sure in the days and months to come, this would embark on a journey which will enlighten the lives of not only students, not only research scholars, but our teachers as well, so that they are better placed to improve our society in and around. If that improves, let me tell you, we are in for a better time to come in. About Sri Aurobindo, a lot has been said. I think it will be not proper on my part to repeat those. Wonderful things have been said. You know, Sri Aurobindo's philosophy is one which is a culmination of all the best practices that the world followed. The latest philosophy, which is a research done by Sri Aurobindo himself, and that culminates into an occasion where if it is followed, there won't be any conflict, there won't be any problem pertaining to racial discrimination or inequality or inequality of income or conflicts in the world. It will be a wonderful place to live in. But then the problem is we are not following. I was in Calcutta and I came back just yesterday. They said, you know, Sri Aurobindo was born here. I said, you are trying to tell me? I've come from Pondicherry. And then they said, well, we will not talk about it. And this is the way our discussion went on. And I explained to them that we have now established a chair and we will be very soon starting certain courses under this chair, which will be a part of the research that our research scholars will be ultimately getting into. So I'm sure we'll all embark on a right direction to take the philosophy of Sri Aurobindo, as you say, life and philosophy of Sri Aurobindo, in the right direction, and people would move in a direction where this will be propagated further in the best possible manner that we can do it. And if that is followed, let me tell you, our country in particular shall not have the problems that we are now facing. this is what is the need of the hour, and this is what I'm sure we would be on. I have a word for these students. I don't know how many of you sitting here, particularly all of us, would have noticed. I was pained to see that. Many of us are sitting here, and I was so saddened that 60% of the students, maybe 70%, they are on their mobiles, they are discussing, they are talking. And if you want me to tell you, I will pinpointedly tell who all were not here with us, who all are the ones who are on their mobiles. This is the saddening feature of our youth. Something that is being done for your benefit, you people do not pay attention to that. Now this, an hour and a half that people have been here, and those who have listened, those who will try to follow, probably would reap the benefit of this, but those who have been onto this, and they are cracking jokes and laughing, many of you, I put the percentage at 70. This is the tragedy of the present day youth. This is where, if we propagate philosophy of Sri Aurobindo, it would go a long way in a right direction. Right now when I'm speaking, people are still chatting, reading the jokes and laughing. It's very unfortunate, very saddening feature, but then gradually we will overcome this. Despite my telling people are not here, you can look at this is the stage of youth who should be with us when we are organizing such a remarkable program for your benefit. It's not for us. We have had our innings. Now youth of today is in a great hurry. You try to tell them in detail, they will not listen to that. They will say, quickly tell me what is to be done. Put it in 2 sentences. They believe in presses, not in text. But then presses will be given to you, provided you are ready to disseminate that. You are ready to listen to that. You are ready to put it in your lifestyle. Then it will be of some use. Otherwise, it will be of no application. When I talk to the students, they will say, oh, on Sri Aurobindo, I have talked to a number of research scholars. Sir, I would be very happy to follow Sri Aurobindo, but I do not know where to begin. There is so much written about him, voluminous literature is there, I don't get time to read that. I don't get time to understand that. And when I go and attend any seminar on Sri Aurobindo, they talk so many things that I get confused. So I recently read a capsule form of a writing on Sri Aurobindo. You know, somewhere the beginning has to be made. You have to begin somewhere. And if a beginning is made, you will find you will make your own way. But unfortunately, we get stuck at the very beginning. If you start doing something, you will find you will have your way. So a beginning has been made through this chair. And if a beginning has to be made in what is Sri Aurobindo's philosophy, you need a capsule. And that capsule I recently read in the form of Shri Anand Reddy's book. He is sitting here. It is a small book of about, I think, 140 pages, if I am correct. I read that, and that has everything on time, on philosophy, on religion, on society, on setup. If you read that, that would enlighten you that what way you have to carry your lifestyle in the right direction. Read that. And if you make a beginning, then you will find from that smaller volume you will be moving on to the richer, the detailed literature on Sri Aurobindo. Read that. And we talk about everything. Many of you would not know that the first work on Rashtradarshan, nationalism, first work I am saying, you can check with the researchers, was done by Sri Aurobindo. So when you have such a literature which is there to enrich yourself, to enrich your society, to enrich your country, why not follow that? Why not read it? And there is no hard and fast practice that Sri Aurobindo said that you must sit in the morning at 5 o'clock, do this, do that. It is a philosophy which has to be adopted by your body. If that comes in, you will find you will be a better person, you will be a focused one. If you are focused, you will find that you will never regret. The problem with our youth is that they are not focused. When they listen to the talk, half the time their mind is somewhere else. When they are listening to a lecture or a seminar or somewhere they are there, half the time they are on their mobiles. They are discussing something which has no meaning for them. So this time, once it is lost, there are still 2 persons which is irritating me. being the head of the academic institution, I need to guide them. They should know that if you have focused, something you have attended, you will register. If you have not, you will notice that this time is gone. And what I am trying to highlight here is, time, once it is gone forever. Please remember, it will never come back. Whatever you may do, a minute past will never return to your life. Therefore, I keep advising, please use your time most judiciously, and that you will do when you focus. And you will be able to focus when you follow philosophy of Sri Aurobindo, follow lifestyle of that. And Sri Aurobindo in his own writings has highlighted the contribution of religion and philosophy in our country. And it's a very rich philosophy, rich country. Our country, we are blessed that we have such a wonderful philosophy which culminates into something which I am telling, that you get focused on whatever you do, and if that is done, probably we will never regret in our life, and our lifestyle will create a country which will be a place worth living. And if that we can do, you will obviously find it will be a place which will be without any conflicts, without any disputes, I will say, and it will be a smooth sailing for all of us. And for academics, for education, Sri Aurobindo has done a lot. I would urge all the research scholars who are sitting here that rather than taking useless problems which has no relevance for our society, pick up the issues raised by Sri Aurobindo in his writings, and if you do that through your research, you will disseminate his philosophy in a manner which is needed by our country. And if that could be done, I think we would have fulfilled our very aim of setting up this chair. I can assure you that we are very open. It is for the first time they said we have collaborated with Pondicherry government. We have been all through welcoming them, that whatever you want us to do, we are there for that, provided we have a better sense of cooperation. And you will find we will always do our best for the area of Pondicherry. When we were to set up this solar power plant, they said, what are you going to do with this? I said, obviously we'll save. And when we set up, we through our study, we came to know that we are going to have some surplus. I said, well, this surplus we'll give it to the town. That's the philosophy with which we work, and this is what we have learned from Sri Aurobindo. Do work for others. So if this is taken in a right stride, I think we'll be in for a better time for our city, for our country, for our society. Our chair here will design during the course of a journey some good courses which will be useful to students, some research programs. It is just the beginning, let me tell you, and this is what I was highlighting. A beginning has to be made. Once you begin, then you will never look back, let me tell you, but beginning has to be in a right sense, in a right stride, and this is what we are here for. We have started this, and when I informed people up there in Delhi, they were going to have opening ceremony in a very modest level, I was told by Minister, no, he would come here and he would also be a part of it. And very soon you will find, maybe in the next 2 weeks, Minister will be here to bless us with the effort that we are in, and maybe we'll have a program either here or in Aurobindo wherein this will be given a better prominence. But as I said, no beginning is small beginning. Beginning is more important, and when you begin, you embark on a journey which is needed for everybody, and that's what we are here for. My own endeavor here will be that we take it forward in the best possible manner, and we will all work as a team so that we all move in to make this philosophy known to everybody in the world so that it becomes a better place. Thank you so very much for joining us here, and I wish that this chair ultimately gets the fullest success that it rightly deserves. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your address, sir. Hopefully we imbibe the teachings. Now we will have a book launch. I cordially invite Dr. Shruti Bidwaikar to speak on the book, Sri Aurobindo, An Extraordinary Phenomenon.
A very good afternoon to everyone present here. My heartfelt thanks to Professor Gurmeet Singh ji, and very delighted that we are again here to release another book from Sri Aurobindo Center for Advanced Research by Dr. Gurmeet Singh ji, who happened to have released another book written by Dr. Anand Reddy called Sri Aurobindo, The Grand Synthesis. Before I talk about the book, just a small introduction. That before this chair came into existence, in fact, Dr. Anand Reddy had been writing letters to the Ministry of Education since 1997. I have the earliest records of him writing to the Ministry of Education and writing several proposals to establish this chair in Pondicherry University so that all the students and other faculty members can benefit from the knowledge that they have, that the chair would produce. However, Sri Aurobindo Center for Advanced Research, as we abbreviate it as SAKAR, has been doing this work. Dr. Anand Reddy is the founder chairman, founder director of that institution, and we have been conducting research, online courses, seminars, webinars, hundreds of them last 20 years. We are running our 23rd year this year. So that is how the books have been coming out. With the grants released by Ministry of Culture this year, SAKAR has published 20 books in about 8 months. So that is what we have been doing since 15th August. Thank you. And one of those books is the one which will be, two of those in fact would be released today. One is called Sri Aurobindo, An Extraordinary Phenomenon. And the other one is Insights into Savitri. And we've heard all the eminent dignitaries here on the dais speaking about multiple personalities of Sri Aurobindo or multiple facets of Sri Aurobindo. And that is very, quite much in sync with the book that you will be seeing launched here, because that is exactly what we have explored. 24 eminent scholars on Sri Aurobindo have written about various facets, including education, about his being a sonneteer, family man, occultist, international politics, education, teacher, facilitator. All those aspects have been discovered, written upon, spoken by a lot of the speakers whom we chose, and those have been transcribed and brought into a book form that we are going to release today. Another one is on Savitri, like Sir also mentioned about Savitri, and that is the best work, as they say, best because the mother has said it is a message of Sri Aurobindo. It is difficult to understand Savitri, it is in the poetic form, and that is why about 12 scholars, whom again SAKAR chose to speak on Savitri, have spoken on 12 topics to understand Savitri. And to our happy fortune, UGC has included Sri Aurobindo's works also in the curriculum, and Savitri is one of the texts. Of course, I think now with the chair coming into the political studies department, Sri Aurobindo's book, The Ideal of Human Unity, will find a wonderful place here, because a lot needs to be discovered from that book, and a lot can be taken as policy making and international relations about what he had spoken at that time, about 100 years ago. So this is in a very, very nutshell that we have been doing at SAKAR, and the book. We are really grateful also to Dr. Belu Mehra, who initiated this entire process of releasing the book here, and really grateful to Professor Gurmeet Singh ji once again to have allowed us to present this book here. And Pradeep sir, I wanted to just mention that Dr. Reddy has written an article called Sri Aurobindo as the Fifth Veda. Maybe he just needs to expand it into a book now, but fortunately he did that about 15 years ago. He wrote an article on that. And so yes, SAKAR has been, and one more thing, one of the qualities, I mean, I'm not here to speak about SAKAR or Dr. Reddy, but he has been blessed by the mother of Sri Aurobindo Ashram, physically blessed to speak about Sri Aurobindo, write about Sri Aurobindo, and spread his message. So like Pradeep sir said about society, the mother had given the blessing. To him personally, those blessings were given, and those are the books that we are bringing out now. So if any student wants to study at SAKAR, or Richa ma'am needs any kind of help, assistance, in terms of resources, in terms of any guidance, SAKAR is there standing with it. Always we will be there to help you, ma'am. Another complaint that Dr. Gurmeet Singh just had was that students are not paying attention to when we are speaking. So for that we have developed an app called Aurodarshan app, in which you will get the talks and books of Sri Aurobindo, some snippets you will get, some invocations you will get, and perhaps that will keep them positively engaged with their mobiles rather than looking into other jokes and messages. So I request you all to go to Google Play Store and download the app called Auro Darshan app. There you will be able to see, get some benefit from whatever we have uploaded on the app. It's still work in progress. We are uploading a lot of things, but almost all, and as I said, we have more than 2,000 hours of recorded talks. So all of them will be made available on that app. So kindly go and download it. Now, we really thank the Ministry of Culture, Government of India to have released the grant for the book which we are going to release today. And it will be, of course, useful for the library, for the department of, all the departments, in fact, in Pondicherry University, and especially to those who want to know more about Sri Aurobindo. So, with that, I thank again Dr. Richa Tiwari, who allowed us again to be here, be a part of this wonderful inaugural seminar on Sri Aurobindo, his life and philosophy, because the book is all about his life and philosophy. Now I request, just a small introduction I forgot. We have Dr. Dari Sedlich here, who has been associated with Sakar since 2004, and he has been playing a pivotal role in editing all the books that we are bringing out. So he is a scholar, a very humble devotee of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother, but a very quiet, a very intense scholar who has been working very hard to bring out all the books with us. So thank you, Dr. Larry, for doing this. Yes, sir. He's completely dedicated to that work, and he does that with us.
I thank the dignitaries for the launching of the book. Now we will have panel discussion.
Namaste to Professor Gurmeet and to all the distinguished guests and my dear friends. When I was a young girl and was studying in school, I think Sri Aurobindo surfaced in my history textbook for like a paragraph or two. Did that happen? All I knew was that he was a patriot and he was a freedom fighter. And then one fine day something happened and he went away to Pondicherry. And he was a spiritual recluse. That's what we all know? All of you? Yeah, so that's what also I knew. And then now we all are in Pondicherry. We're in the place where Sri Aurobindo spent 40 years. Doing what? We don't know. He was hiding. Was he hiding? What was he doing? And so the life of Sri Aurobindo is mysterious, but there are so many facets. We just discovered that in this book, 24 personalities of Sri Aurobindo. He was a brilliant student. Did you know that he went to Cambridge and he studied so many languages, and he was an extraordinary professor when he was in the Baroda University and then in Kolkata. So much that his students he never used to prepare for his classes, but his students used to hear each and every word of his. There was pin drop silence in his classes. And he was a revolutionary, and he was also a political. He used to write political writings, but he left all of that. He left all of that and he became a yogi and he came to Pondicherry. So, the distinguished panelists here, we're going to be discussing all these facets of Sri Aurobindo because we have many questions that what did he really do in Pondicherry? What did he really do in those 40 years? What did he write? That Professor Gurmeet Singh ji said that it's very difficult to understand. And is it a coincidence? Have you ever asked that on his 75th birthday, India got independence? Is it a coincidence? We have to ask these questions. Do you know 15th August was his birthday too? So it is no coincidence. And we'll discuss this in the discussions that are going to go ahead. So there are many scholars who have written on Sri Aurobindo's, on India's history and culture, and so has Sri Aurobindo. I would like Dr. Belu Mehra to elucidate on what is unique about Sri Aurobindo's writings on Indian culture.
Namaste everyone and good afternoon. Just wanted to make sure I got the time right. It's really wonderful to be here and to this special occasion celebrating the inaugural seminar of Sri Aurobindo Chair on the theme Celebrating Life and Philosophy of Sri Aurobindo. I really thank and congratulate the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Gurmeet Singh ji, and the entire community of Pondicherry University, and especially to Dr. Richa Tiwari for really making this happen, and Dr. Mohanty, the Dean of School of Social Sciences and International Studies, where this chair is housed. It's really wonderful to be part of this celebration today, and I am very happy that along with Pradeep Bhai and Shiv Kumar and Preeti, we are representing Sri Aurobindo Society, and we really offer, all our cooperation and collaboration in whatever way to take up this work, that you have taken on through Sri Aurobindo studies, through Sri Aurobindo Chair. So I was asked, in our discussions with Richa, to share a few things about what is unique about Sri Aurobindo's writings on Indian culture. So yes, as Preeti also mentioned, there have been, many scholars, historians, cultural studies experts, people from various kinds of disciplines who have written on India. So what is special about Sri Aurobindo's writings on India? Last night, as I was thinking about how I want to, take up this topic, I remembered one line from this book by Shashi Tharoor, the MP from Kerala. He has mentioned in one of his books, all accounts of India are autobiographical. And then he goes on to say, how do you write about India, or how do you speak about India, which is the home of, or which gave the world 3 major religions and 300 ways of cooking potato? I said, yeah, that makes sense. 300 ways of cooking potato and 3 major religions. If you look at it that way, but there could be more than 3, depending on how you define religion. But what I thought was that yes, the first part is true. Every account of India is autobiographical, and the second part is also true. 3 major religions and 300 ways of cooking potato. But if you look at this autobiographical way of understanding India, which puts food, matter, annam on one side, and religion, which as the mother described as the something that comes out of the higher mind of humanity. Still mind, but higher mind of humanity, beyond the intellect. There is still a polarization happening. Matter, something like spirit, which is religion. Religion would have a component of the seeking of the spirit, but the biggest component in religion is still a creation of the higher mind of humanity. And sometimes that higher mind also comes down a little bit with dogma, creed, sects, my way, your way, my way of worshipping, all those kinds of things, which actually ends up dividing rather than integrating, uniting, which should have been, or which ideally should be the purpose of the higher mind's creation or any spiritual seeking. So yes, going back to every account of India being autobiographical, we can go on analyzing other historians' account of India, but our focus today is on Sri Aurobindo's account of India. It is absolutely true, the way I am beginning to understand it, that his account of India is autobiographical. Just like Savitri is his and mother's inner journey, whatever he has written about India, whether it is in his seminal work, which used to be called Foundations of Indian Culture and is now titled The Renaissance in India and Other Essays on Indian Culture, or in his entire 36 volumes, there are at least 20 volumes in which something or the other, more than 20 probably, in which he has said very important things about India. And all those accounts are autobiographical in the sense that they give us a complete picture of India, not separating matter and spirit or matter and religion or matter and mind, but integrating them all together, because he himself was that complete integral being. 24 facets, and yet there is still more of Sri Aurobindo, which cannot be captured in a book. So with this, if we understand Sri Aurobindo in this way, naturally his writings of India also take on that character of completeness. So even this one book, which is today volume number 20 in his complete works of Sri Aurobindo, The Renaissance in India, you start that from page 1 and end to 467 page, whatever is, it's more than 450 pages. If you are, I don't know, with this mobile culture, maybe it is difficult, but try it. Try at least reading one chapter from beginning to end, and you'll still find the totality of whatever it is that he's trying to present. This totality, this completeness, and then you just say, now I understand. It's not even a mental understanding, it's like he makes you see, not the facts of India. Facts of India you can get on Wikipedia even. He makes you see the truth of India, the mystery that is India, the mystery that India was, and that India is waiting to become. So it's between past, present, and future. And I think I can speak from my experience for sure, and also having heard experiences of others, including Anand Bhaiya here and Pradeep Bhai and Shruti, several others, different generations. But their experiences of having read Sri Aurobindo's writings on India, particularly this volume 20, is it makes you fall in love with India. You may have already have this love for India because India is our motherland. And yet, we never knew that we didn't know India this way, the way he presents India to you. Because he, as I said, his account is autobiographical because in the sense, he's writing it as a rishi, as a yogi who have this inner vision to understand what is the truth behind this surface. So let me just take 2-3 examples from his writings on India to illustrate this point. One is his definition of culture itself. What is Indian culture? What is culture? Again, culture is often understood khana pina, the way what we food, in the foods we eat, the way we dress, the bindi we put, the jewelry we wear, or the places we have, the heritage monuments, this and that, the arts, the religion, the music, all that. But Sri Aurobindo tells you in a very small paragraph 3 things which are there in every human being, and exactly the same 3 things through which you can understand any culture. Soul, mind, body. Not body, mind, soul, mind you. This is unique. Not body, mind, soul, but soul, mind, body, because the truth of the being, whether it is you and me individually or our nation or our culture? What is the soul of the culture? What is the mind of the culture? What is the body of culture? One little paragraph, I think it's probably just 3 sentences, and you get an entire definition of how to look at any culture. So what is the soul of a culture? He simply says, whatever is the highest aspiration, the highest will of a people, that is the soul of a culture. That gets expressed through people's philosophy, people's spiritual aspiration, people's upward will. Second is the mind. What is the mind of a culture? The arts, the sciences, the literature, everything that the consciousness of life expresses through whatever the highest ranges of mind can produce, can create. That's the mind of a culture. And what is finally the body of a culture? The social setup, the political setup, the economic systems, everything that we create to organize our outward life. The challenge is that the body should express what the soul's highest aspiration is. The mind should express what the soul's highest aspiration is. This way of understanding culture has never been, nowhere else you will find this. So in the field of cultural studies itself, he has given a very unique way to understand culture and the history of civilization. His approach to history of civilization, Indian civilization in particular, is that you have to look at the subjective history, the inner history through which India has progressed. This is one example. The second example is, which again has become very important in today's academic world, cross-cultural studies. How should one culture look at another culture? First of all, what is the need for that? And how should one group of people look at what is unique about other cultures? Again, one paragraph in those 450 plus pages, but in the hands of someone like Anand Bhaiya, there could be a book there. What I'm just adding to your work, what our Professor Gurmeet Singh ji and Pradeep Bhai actually also said. So I'm just adding one more book, will not be, since you are in that zone right now. What's the model of studying doing cross-cultural study? So there again, Sri Aurobindo speaks of 3 ways. Usually people look at another culture, which is very foreign to them, through the eyes of either complete reverence, and then he gives example of who looked at India in that way at that time, or through the eyes of a hostile critic. 2 sides, complete reverence or complete hostility, because it is so foreign, I don't understand, so I just have to look at it with a hostile eye. But in between that is a very intellectual way of understanding the complete culture. The complete culture that is foreign to you. So he gives in 3 sentences again a model of cross-cultural studies. This is second example. And the third example I wanted to share, which somehow has slipped my mind, so I have to look at my notes. Just a minute. Yeah. Actually, that third example I should have probably started with as first. What is unique about Sri Aurobindo's ways of looking at India is he was one of the first few people, or actually probably the first after Bankim Chandra Chatterjee, who said that India, or any other nation for that matter, any other culture, is not just a piece of land, but particularly India is not just a piece of land, a geography with certain hills and mountains and rivers, but he said there is actually a goddess supporting the truth of the nation. And he said this in one of his letters to his wife, that for others, India may be just a country, a piece of land, but for me, India is my mother. So, when you read something like this, you realize it's not just Sri Aurobindo. India is my mother too. And why is it that our education system, for the most part, fails to evoke that kind of love for our motherland, for our mother. You know, we think only the biological mother is our mother. But none of that would have been possible if it were for this sacred land that India is. So how to feel this love for our mother? How to look at India as mother? And Preeti mentioned about Sri Aurobindo as an educator, you know, in Baroda. One of his students who later went on to hold very high positions in India, and many of you may also know his name. I don't know, this could be like a sleep test or waking up test. Does anybody know who I'm thinking of? Who would be the very illustrious son of India, who also was a student of Sri Aurobindo, who I think who went on to become some high-level minister in the first few years of India's independence at the government of India, who wrote several books, who was the founder of a very important institution meant to propagate and meant to study and do research in Indian history and culture. Any student, can you think of that name? I am hearing only from the first two rows who would know. But yes, you have your pen up. Maybe you know the answer. No? Huh? Sorry? Sorry? No. Have you heard the name Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan? Heard this institution's name, Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan? Okay. Have you heard the name Somnath Temple? Yeah? Where is it? In Gujarat, right? The person responsible for the restoration of Somnath Temple after independence and the founder of Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, K.M. Munshi, was student of Sri Aurobindo at Baroda. And in one of his correspondence or exchanges with K.M. Munshi, Sri Aurobindo is said to have shown a map of India during the college days. And he said, look at this map. What does this map tell you? Is it just, some sort of geographical land with few geographical features, mountains here, rivers here, seas on the coast? No. Unless and until you can see Mother, a goddess in this map, you are not ready to serve India. You're not ready to work for India. It was this, as a college professor also, he was able to evoke that kind of love for our motherland in his students. So it's no wonder someone like K.M. Munshi went on to found this institution called Bharatiya Vidya Bhavan, which has done so much work in Indological studies and India-related studies and research. And they have centers throughout India at many places. The key figure behind the restoration of Somnath Temple, and I will just end this part with, I know we have other speakers lined up. Just before he took up the work of restoring Somnath Temple, he actually wrote a letter to Sri Aurobindo that I am not sure if this is the right thing to do, but I feel from whatever I have learned from you and whatever my own inner journey has been, that if India has to progress, if India has to move ahead, India has to restore what all that was good in her past. And Sri Aurobindo, through his secretary Nolinida, dictated the letter saying, yes, this is the work to be done. I'm not quoting verbatim, but this, so his blessings were there in everything that K.M. Munshi was doing along with Sardar Patel to restore that temple and what it meant to restore the inner truth of India. It's not the outer structure that matters. It's what a temple represents, what the outer work represents. So this kind of symbolic way to understand the outer India, the outer body of India, is again something really unique in Sri Aurobindo's writings on Indian culture. So my dear students, if you have never picked up any book of Sri Aurobindo, start with Sri Aurobindo's writings on India, especially this one book, The Renaissance in India and other essays on Indian culture. And if that is also too much, find out a way to contact me through Richa Triwari. I have a very nice compilation on key ideas from this book, which our friend Lakshmi Jyoti and I had put together. So we'll be happy to share those documents. So, just read those quotes. Fall in love, you would want to read more and more. This is my promise to you. So with that, I'll end my comment, and thank you. How do we get connected to the soul, the mind and the body of our culture? Because in those days, Sri Aurobindo used to say that if your mother is in distress, can you just be sitting there? I'm asking all of you. In your house, your mother is not feeling well. Will you just be sitting in the house doing nothing? You'll do something for her. So for Sri Aurobindo, who was his mother? The country was verily his mother, and he felt the distress that the country is going through, the pain. Do you feel the pain? That something is happening in the country even today? We've got independence, but are we really independent? So after coming out from jail, Sri Aurobindo went to the Alipur jail. He wrote many, this pain was there in his heart. And because of that, he wrote these articles on education. How do we get connected? How does the youth of my country get connected to the soul, the mind and the body of this beautiful, unique culture? And that's what I would request Sri Shiv Kumar to tell us about this writings on education, which is now popular as integral education. We have a school year. Do you know there is a school year in Pondicherry called the Sri Aurobindo International Center of Education, which actually is running an experiment on this integral education. What is this? Let us hear from him.
My namaskarams to every one of you. After a broad sweep at what our culture is and how we should approach it, we are entering into a field that is so very relevant to all of us, the field of education. In fact, when all of us entered into college, we have to select specific subjects in which we have to specialize in, isn't it? Well, when you finish your school and want to select a college, you will have to select whether it is to be an engineering college, medical college, arts, sports. All this specialization has to be done at the college level. But it is very interesting that when we started our education at the school level, we didn't have to be specific or specialize in any of the subject, isn't it? How is the experience of everyone? When we entered into the kindergarten, nobody has asked us, would you like to choose a KG stream which is called engineering or medical? I know there are some parents who decide, even when a child is 5-6 years old, that he has to become an engineer and then start coaching classes, only to later find that the child coming up and saying that no, my interest is totally in something else, something like sports, and the entire expectation comes crashing down. Now it is interesting because in school, when we are looking at the preliminary education, we don't have to specialize. If we don't have to specialize, what are we supposed to do? An education that prepares one to enter into college where one has to choose even a career which will become part of their life, I would say at least 3 foundations need to be laid at the school level. Thank you. And I'm going to run through these 3 foundations, and all of you will have to tell me how closer it is to your own experience too. You see, whatever you want to select as a specialization in the college, irrespective of that, the first foundation that needs to be laid in the school is the foundation of fitness of the body. What does it mean? Whatever we are meant to be, we need to have a body which is very healthy and very fit. You can't say that because I'm an engineer, I don't need a physical body, isn't it? Would you agree with that? Whatever you want to be in life, well, a foundation is that you need to have a healthy body. And when I say healthy body, the health should not be equated to what you might have seen in some of the, the wrestling matches that come on the TV, WWE. Heard of it? Anybody? With the muscles ripped? No, not that level. But to be healthy and to be in charge of one's health, even if a COVID comes, it should pass through our door and should not enter into us. That healthiness is the foundation in the body that we need to have. The school is meant to provide us for that. Would you agree with that? All of us need that fitness in the body, whatever we want to be in the college, the first foundation. The second foundation, I'm sure a lot of you will agree with that too, is the foundation of being in charge of one's emotions and learning how to express. When I was in college, there was a trend, it was a trend, the times are changing, where a boy and a girl come together, they enter into a relationship. After some time, there is a usual complaint from the boy to the girl. What is that? Why are you trying to make everything so emotional? Interesting, isn't it? And the girl looks at the boy and she knows he is a little physical. Why are you not trying to express yourself emotionally? You understand that we have not trained ourselves to feel the emotions originally, authentically, and to even express it very beautifully. How all of our emotions can be expressed very beautifully in the form of art, music, poetry, dance. There are innumerable, when you hear an old song, it may be one of the saddest emotions that gets expressed, but you feel like singing it because it was expressed so beautifully through that song. Why is that? Well, somebody who is emotionally capable has put it into practice. So emotions should not drive us, but we should be in charge of our emotions, and that foundation has to be laid in the school. You would have avoided a lot of problems that you might be encountering at the college level, guaranteed. So physical foundation is the first one, emotional foundation is the second one. A third foundation, irrespective of who you want to be in life, is the capacity to look at things and the ability to solve problems. And that is a foundation in the mind. Even before any problem comes to you, you're already ready with 10 solutions for it. This is the problem, I have 10 solutions for it. How do we do that? You develop the capacity in the mind to be sharp, to be dynamic, to be creative in utilizing the mind. Unfortunately, we don't have many subjects in the school that deal directly with it. How to love another person truly, authentically, there is no subject. How to think, there is hardly any subject. How to hold certain values in life, still, times are changing. We don't have subjects like how to be courageous, how to overcome fear, how to be truthful. These are all for the future, but maybe. But a foundation of the capacity to think has to be there at the school, so that when we enter into college, we are ready to choose what we want to be. So foundation in the body, a foundation in the emotions, a foundation of the mind. These seem to wrap up what we need in life, isn't it? But I would like to introduce to you a fourth foundation, which becomes one of the most important foundation, which if it happens at the school level, the rest of the life becomes very, very easy. I'm going to give you an example. Imagine a twin born to same parent, brought up in the same family situation. Let's say the twins are put in the same school for same type of education, but they are not going to be carbon copies of each other. If you have actually seen a twins in action, one may be very, very physical, sportsman-like. The other may be very emotional, artist-like. And how does it happen? They are born to the same parent. They have gone through the same education, and it is as if something which is other than the outer situation decides what type of a person is he or she is going to be. I'm sure you also would have noticed that it is as if something inside, there is a part inside which has not yet been discovered properly, which seems to know what we are meant to be in life, and then it will give certain pushes right from early in life. You'll find that there are some children, the moment they listen to music, they're already going after that because something in them pushes them towards music. Maybe he's meant to be a Rahman. Maybe he's meant to become an Ilayaraja. We don't know. But you'll find these impulses coming from a part which seems to know what we are meant to be. Anything else that we may take up in the form of entertainment or a career, if that is not aligned with the push coming from inside, no, we will never feel completely satisfied. And that part is not yet become completely part of our educational system. And I would like to bring that part into our discussion today. What is that part which is there within all of us, which seems to know what we are meant to be in this life? And not only that, it can give the right type of interests and capacities. Only thing we need is a little support from the outside, from the schools, from the colleges, from the professors that we encounter. What is that part? I would like to read to you something which Sri Aurobindo wrote in 1910 when Preeti was speaking about he wanted an education which actually is truly authentically Indian, which empowers every student in India. So what does he say about the type of education that we need? Here is something very beautiful. Listen to me very carefully. He says, everyone has in him something divine. He doesn't have any other vocabulary to say because this part in us is so beautiful. It carries the best of part of us, the best things that belong to us. Something his own, a chance of strength and perfection in however small a sphere which God offers him to take or refuse. This is option. The push that comes from within, we can listen to it and align our life with it, or we can refuse that. That freedom is always given. But what are we meant to do? Sri Aurobindo says, the task is to find it, develop it, and use it. Now, this is what the education is meant to be. It is meant to put us in touch with that part which already can sense what we are meant to be and also give us the pushes in the right direction. And then life becomes easy. And not only that, this part is capable of guiding us in everything related to the life that we want to build up. And this is what when Pradibhai said, applied spirituality, whether we want it or not, agree with or not, there is a part in us which is already spiritual. And we are already holding that within us. If we can make it part of our everyday life, it can give the push and make our life extraordinarily purposeful and beautiful. You look at some of the people, great people who have achieved success, who have listened to this push. For example, Steve Jobs. You heard of Steve Jobs? Now, when he entered into the computer field, it was highly technical subject, too much scientific. He went and joined a calligraphy course where aesthetics are emphasized on. Why? If you want to be a scientist in the computer field, what is the need for being a person with aesthesis? Well, he brought it. He listened to the push within, and the result that we have are the most beautiful fonts that you are having in your computer, even in your mobile phones, is actually a result of something which Steve Jobs thought. He learned calligraphy, he revolutionized the fonts and made it all the more beautiful. Or a Ramanujan, for example. You heard of Ramanujan? He is born in Tamil Nadu, near Namakkal. In fact, recently Preeti and I went and visited him. What did he say? He said right from his childhood, he felt that something from within him is giving him mathematical formulas of the highest order. And what did he say? He identified, he gave a name to that source. He said, Namagiri Tayar. Means mother, goddess Namagiri is putting the formulas on my tongue. I just have to spit it out. And they are formulas of the highest order. Where are they coming from? From within himself. Now this part in us is meant to complete our life, without which our life will remain incomplete. I want to read another quotation by the mother, which gives us in the context. See, the people whom I have said they are genius in their field, an A.R. Rahman, or even a Shreya Ghoshal, or Ilayaraja, or Ramanujam, they are genius people. The question is there a genius sitting within all of us? If so, then it is worth getting in touch with that genius and making it express our life. Now, this is what mother says. Listen to me very carefully. This is what she says. There is a genius within every one of us. We don't know it. We know something is there inside. We get impulses, pushes once in a while, which are very true, which we cannot ignore. But mother identifies this phenomena and she says there is a genius within every one of us. I wish somebody would have told me when I was a child. I would have gone after it. We don't know it. We must find the way to make it come out. But it is there sleeping because we have never tried to make it part of our everyday life. When I have a relationship problem, can I refer to that? When I have a decision to make about my career, can I refer to that? If I have a fight with my parents or anybody else, can I refer to that for the right solution? Now, this is what. Because we have not learned to refer to that, well, it is as if sleeping. And the mother says, it asks. So there is a little expectation of that part. What does it ask? It asks for nothing better than to manifest. We must open the door to it. And later, the mother has actually established a door which can give us an entry point into that part which can shape our life. And there is not one door towards getting in touch with it, but the door that she has decided to actually put it into practice and implement it to a great extent is what she has named it as integral education. So in Sanskrit, you can call it as Purna Siksha. Purna Kalvi is what you can. If we can include this as part of our education, then our education become complete. Choose whatever subject you want to specialize in, but it can never be complete unless and until we bring in the element of genius, so that that genius can express in everything that we take up, not just in career, but at every moment of our life. And this is the integral education, which if you happen to come to the ashram and go to the center of education, well, this is what we have been trying to implement for more than 75 years, and it is already very well developed in its approach and form. And through this chair, and I'm very thankful for Dr. Richa to have had this chair through which we would definitely love to share how does one open the doors to the genius which is sitting inside every one of us. And mind you, none of us can say that it is a little less in me. You can't say that, no, he has got more of genius, I have a little less. No, every one of us has a specific, unique genius sitting within us. The process of education is to help us open the door, and what happens is magic. With that, I will conclude my interaction just by emphasizing that whenever we say, spirituality, the ashram is identified as spiritual place, Sri Aurobindo is identified as spiritual person, we have a concept of spirituality which is very different from the everyday life. But this is what the mother has said, by integrating the two dimensions of everyday common life and the dimension of spirituality. And she has this to say when somebody asks, what is spiritual? And she says, true spirituality is not to renounce life. It's not giving up. बोलते हैं ना भगवान को पाने के लिए सब कुछ छोड़ना है. On the contrary, it is embracing everything in the right way and giving expression to that. True spirituality is not to renounce life. Can anybody complete my sentences? Not those who are sitting in that room. What is spirituality supposed to do? From whatever I have shared, anybody could make an attempt. It's not meant to renounce life, but come. we'll ask the mother herself to complete, but to make life perfect with a divine perfection. Spirituality is what completes life. Without that dimension becoming part of our life remains incomplete. And this part adds a dimension, the element of genius into every one of our life. Thank you so much.
How wonderful it would be, na, if our education would help us to live this secret inner life along with living a dynamic outer life, and with the help of what? He gave the clue. Who's going to be the helper? Are you listening? The inner divine. Who's going to be your helper? Yes, the mother is there, the professor is there, the father is there, everybody is there. But actually it is the inner divine, the inner friend, the inner genius. That is the true helper. And if everyone were to live like that, what a wonderful society it would be. It would be the birth of a new order, wouldn't it be? Birth of a new world. Would you love such a world? Such a beautiful world where everybody is living a secret inner life and a beautiful outer life. Isn't it? So I'm going to, I had a little quote of Sri Aurobindo for that to begin with. On the eve of independence, there was a message that was broadcast by the Air India radio. Sri Aurobindo saw 5 dreams, and that was what was the eve of independence? 14th August 1947. It was aired in the Air India radio of Tiruchirappalli. And Sri Aurobindo said, I quote him, August 15, 1947 is the birthday of free India. It marks for her the end of an old era, the beginning of a new age. But we can also make it by our life and acts as a free nation, an important date in a new age, opening for the whole world, for the political, social, cultural, and spiritual future of humanity. So I would request Dr. Nandakishore to enlighten us on this new world order, this new age, which Sri Aurobindo dreamt of and wrote about extensively.
Thank you, Dr. Richa Tiwari, for the opportunity. At the same time, if you have heard enough of spirituality, inner engineering, how to be happy, but not everything is in our control. More so, the world order is certainly not in our control. We can be happy where we are, but unfortunately there is no compulsion, neither there is any force that can bring everything together. One of the simple questions that was asked when I delivered a lecture at the society was also, what India can do with its spirituality, what India can do with all that magnificent things that it is there for the Russia-Ukraine war. Right? Now that's perhaps the question that haunts us and brings to the idea what world order that we are talking about. Where is Sri Aurobindo? Because Sri Aurobindo on international relations perhaps is comparatively less studied. We see people speaking extensively on his thought on education, about life, about philosophy, to a lot of other things. But to me, in the very, very initial stage when I joined this university, I happened to read few things. What stunned me was his understanding of history. What stunned me was his language. Perhaps even the British would have felt ashamed with the type of language that he had control over. Perhaps they would have struggled to even understand what was he talking about. For them, it's a mother tongue. For him, it's not. But he mastered. And he's also not someone who is an escapist who would first say, no, I hate them, that's the reason I don't want to, get associated or do anything. He proved everything, what British perhaps thought about, became an officer, showed what he was able to, studied Latin, Greek, because that's how the ICS exam was. He did everything and then he said, I don't want to work under you. I don't want to be a slave to any of you. I have something else to achieve in life. So perhaps that's where his understanding, looking into all sorts of philosophies. It stuns me to, even for me while reading, I think not less than while reading a page or two, I must have referred 10 times to the dictionary to look at even the type of words that he would use, which we may need a page to speak about. He would just use a word or two and he would talk about. Very interesting part was, I mentioned to you people, Russia and Ukraine. He speaks about Ruthenians, Ukraine. Ruthenians are the people, amalgamation of the Lithuanians or Latvians and some of these people along with Ukraine, Poland and all those things. So he speaks about a world order where somebody was a superpower, what Soviet Union has done and what revolutions are about to be, and then he gives us an idea about the world order that perhaps can be emulated, and that's the only one which he sees as a solution. That's the interesting component that he brings in, because I don't think I have a capacity to even let's say amalgamate all his thoughts into what world order is about, and I may have to look at a lot of things that he has spoken about. One of the earliest things that he says is a world state can be brought, he says, on three components. One, a mutual understanding. Second, by the force of circumstances. Now I think that's exactly what is happening now. We did not anticipate in 21st century, in the second decade and the early third decade, that we would have crises such as COVID-19, and also we would have a crisis like the Russia-Ukraine war. He says this very, very clearly. That's where their words are prophetic. That's where he was able to imagine. I will even talk about and say how even things like climate change, nuclear components, to so many other things which are done at the behest of ego of human beings is dangerous to the world order, is what he speaks about. He says this very, very clearly, by the force of circumstances. When the force of circumstance works, whether you want or not, you have to cooperate. That's exactly what we call as complex interdependence. There is an interdependence. You don't want to cooperate, but neither you have an option to be out of it. So that's the complex interdependence. Then third, he says, a series of new and disastrous shocks. He says those disastrous shocks are the one. Until and unless that happens to human beings, things don't really work. That's why people say, first you have to have a failure in life, then you become a philosopher. That's when the real shock comes into your life. You need to be put through the stress. You need to be put through those extraordinary circumstances. Aurobindo himself was a culmination of that. He was an outcome of that one. He was made for that one. That's a mission that he led. Now he says a new order is demanded by the new conditions, and so long as it is not created, there will be transitional era of continued trouble or recurrent disorder, inevitable crisis through which nature will affect, I quote nature, he says, in her own violent way, working out on the necessity of what has evolved. He simply says this, at the behest of human nature, we wanted to show how capable we were and how powerful we were. So we created bombs. Now just imagine a world where there would have not been bombs. Nothing would have happened. That's exactly where he says knowledge or any exhibition of knowledge, if it's not in synthesis with the society, then perhaps be prepared. If not today, maybe decades or centuries, you will witness what we call as the outcome from the nature. When the nature decides to react, perhaps none of the things that are created by humans will ever exist, nor it will have the capacity to stop it. So he says the world state and the union, he gives two options. One of the best things about him is he's not just continuously telling you what has to be done, but he gives you an option. He engages you like that of a Veda. He gives you the right, he gives you the wrong. He gives you an option. And then he talks about, if this you choose, this will happen. If you choose this one, perhaps this will happen. So he gives that one, and he says, clash of national and imperial egoism founded on principles of centralization and uniformity, a mechanical and formal unity. That's an option that's available for the world order. Do you want to do that? Then he says, a minimum, if reason and goodwill prevails, world union based upon principles of liberty and variation in a free and intelligent unity. He uses intelligent unity, which is a very interesting one. He says, you can have something. That's like, I force you to sit in my lecture. You have no option but to get your attendance. That's one of the ways of doing. Other one is you want to gain something out of it. You think that even a single thing that you learn from a lecture on that particular day, I'll become something, I'll go back home with a food for thought. That's also an option for you. He gives openly an option for the world order itself. So what type of world order? He says a unified world order, here where he becomes pragmatic. A lot of philosophers, when they talk about war and peace, one of the most boring things that I've come across as a student of international relations is they become too ethical, and also they become, let's say, they start romanticizing a situation. If you ask, what will we do in a warlike situation? What will we do in a crisis situation? They'll say at the most, let's pray. That's not going to help. We openly say, first is bhojan, then only the bhajan. So for a crisis, first you need something. If I'm saying I'm hungry, don't tell me first let's pray that the food will arrive after that. It doesn't work. So that's where Aurobindo is absolutely pragmatic. He says, the assured peace of the world, he says, might not be absolutely secured against internal shocks and disturbances. He knows that you can't create an absolute ideal society. That's not humanly possible, but we can go closest to that one. That's the idea that he's trying to bring in here. It will not disturb the settled fabric of civilization, nor radical or violent change. And then he says, peace assured, there would be an unparalleled development of ease and well-being. A great number of outstanding problems would be resolved by the united intelligence of mankind, working no longer in fragments, but as one. Much before even the European Union spoke about, or whatever the idea of EU that they put up in the early, let's say, 1980s and 1980s and the 2000, and finally they realized the idea of European Union. Aurobindo talks about the United States of Europe. Much before the Europeans even thought about it. They were still fighting there. They were still killing each other. They call themselves as some sort of a civilization, very advanced, but they were killing each other. Aurobindo gives a solution to them. Think of an United States of Europe. You fools will come together, perhaps, then intelligence will prevail. You will stop killing each other. That's what he says here. And then he further goes on and says, what is for the vital race? What are we trying to look at? He says, a comfortable rational order. He needs to induce people also. If you simply say, let's have a world order like this, which is very peaceful, nobody is going to listen. You have to tell them or give them an incentive. What is going to be the outcome of it? So he gives the outcome here. These are the things that you're going to get. If you want, embrace. Otherwise, it's your fate. He says, a comfortable rational order, well-regulated, well-informed society, a satisfactory machinery for meeting all difficulties, a way out for exigencies, problems with least possible frictions, disturbances and uncertainty of adventure and peril. This is what he says. Adventure and peril is what we tried doing. That's why Einstein regretted for what he did. Though it was a phenomenal outcome that he had, perhaps subsequently he regretted because in which way he contributed to society. Right? He had a realization it was an exhibition of his ego, that I am, as a human being, I am capable of this one. Very soon, that human started behaving like a monkey, dropped it on a country, and then destroyed generations to come. And an outcome, what you see, is that exhibition that he speaks about, an adventure and peril, which is essentially nuclear. He says science would organize itself for the betterment of human life. That's what he says. Science would organize itself for the betterment of human life and the increase of the knowledge and mechanical efficiency, which he says is very important. You go wrong, you try thinking about destroying something with your vicious circle, then you will have a COVID-19. That's an outcome. So you think that you're doing something phenomenal, a scientific discovery, and then you want to show your ego. That ego will come back and the cost is unbearable. What have we done to the world, he asks, and then he puts up three important components, which I said is directly relevant, and he is pragmatic here, which I essentially bring out from his work, is the climate change and environmental security that we are looking at. What exactly we have done to the society. Look at those things that we did in the oceans, the number of times that the United States carried out nuclear explosions, and then subsequently you have a tsunami that come in. Every other day you have something or the other coming over you. And as I said, or as Sri Aurobindo had said, that the nature will return it. When it returns with gift, you will not be in a position to handle it. Second is nuclear weapon. Third is the philosophy of science that has been aligned with the upliftment of the life of human being. No science or science has no value if it cannot uplift the human difficulties or human life itself. And that science, if that doesn't serve the purpose in the society, should not exist at all. Perhaps we should exist as those without any sort of knowledge. That's the idea that he brings in, which perhaps the Vice Chancellor spoke in the initial stage, that take up research that is useful to society in one or the other way, rather than showing that you are talented and you want to do something which can also lead to different type of problems. A few minutes to go. So multilateralism is also something that he says what actually it would help, in which way it would help. He brings 3-4 important components. He says would not only bring the gains to one, and it also brings common fund, plus also brings new motives. That's the idea of multilateralism he speaks about. And then he says people, because then in philosophy also everybody would use the terminology men. What he simply means is humanity. That he says that when we start meeting each other more closely and completely than before, develop a greater mutual understanding and get rid of what? A, many accidental motives of strife. 2, he says, hatred and repugnance. That's, he says, is the outcome that he comes in. This is what surprises me and also puts me into different type of thought when it comes to Sri Aurobindo, the clarity in which he speaks about as a pragmatist. Arrive if not at brotherhood. See how pragmatic he is. He's not telling that we will absolutely achieve brotherhood and then we'll have a different world order. He says, arrive if not at brotherhood, which cannot come merely because of political, social and cultural union, but some imitation leading to a sufficient kind of association and the interchange. He says he's very practical. He thinks that even if we think that we want to run 5 and if we run 3 kilometers, it's still okay. If you think 3 and you arrive at 1, it is still okay. If you think 1 and at least you get up from your bed, that is also okay, rather than doing nothing. That's what he brings in here. Now this can sustain, rather collapse, like that of the Roman Empire. He draws the parallels from the Roman Empire. He says, yes, there was a example that we had in the past, but it was interesting. Then he says, the world state should be, this is prophetic. He says, a free democratic state. He says that is important. 2, should not be a liberty-stifling empire or an autocracy. It's very important in the world that we are living. We have all sorts of governing systems. And 3, he says, based on liberty and progress, very essence of the modern life. And D, he says, no development should be allowed, which is contrary to point A and C, that is free democratic state. C, based on liberty and progress, which is the very essence of modern life. And there he speaks about several other things about organized annihilation of the individual liberty. And he says this is what exactly modern democracies have done. You are all mesmerized by the modern democracy. He says the reality is not in modern democracy. He says the modern democracy is so smart, it makes you to look that everything is going great, and it is subtle, and it is so subtle that it makes you to think everything I'm doing is for your good. It's like that of the CCTVs that we have. First there is a crisis, that means the erosion of your liberty. In the initial part, that means somebody is attacking you or somebody is teased or something happens, then you ask the state, that means a democratic state, through petitioning, give me security, and then the cameras are installed. This is what happens in democracy, everything through constitutional measures, and at last what you don't realize is it has absolutely destroyed your privacy. You don't have any space these days where you don't have a camera. Now this is how absolutely democracy works, for which Aurobindo says this is not actually the solution. Democracy might sound very juicy, but that's not so, because there is a deprivation of some sort of respectability that disappears, and also subtle and systematized way of doing it. So he says, or he thinks and he says, the present system is not greater than the old aristocratic and monarchical system, which is based on the idea of dharma. And that dharma simply means goodness, nothing more than that one. Because dharma itself is a subject that has to be dealt in a much bigger time or a longer time perhaps. Now, he further says that there is an amount of anarchism that comes in, and then he simply puts across, I quote Aurobindo, he says the sound order, he says about this is the world order that he thinks, or the idea of world order. A sound order is that which comes from within as a result of a nature that has discovered itself and found its own law and the law of its relation with others. The truest order is that which is founded on the greatest possible liberties, for liberty is at once condition of vigorous variation and the condition of self-finding. If we don't do that one, perhaps that union, that world order is absolutely waste. So if there are a lot of times when I attend so many seminars, to conclaves, to a lot of other things abroad, they ask why you don't have anything called as the Indian international relations. We have borrowed everything. Those students from international relations, you would know, it starts with Morganto, ends with Morganto. No, everything is given from the West. All theories are from the West. Whichever theory you talk about, everything is from the West. But here where perhaps my answer is, if someone asks me if there is anything on Indian international relations which is not asking for blood, because the Western theories are asking for blood. After the blood is spilled, then they say, okay, let's dine. After the dining, again they spill the blood. So, but Aurobindo has a solution for that. He says, not asking for the blood, which is not asking to take over other nations in the name of national interest, nationalism that is moral and societal, unlike the Western nationalism which is materialistic, which expects you to come together, help a country to expand, take over more and more territory, like that of what Russia is doing today, or any of those things. And then he says, perhaps our nationalism leading to internationalism makes a humankind much, much better. And what is this all about? If Aurobindo's international relations is, it's largely about three components. If international relations and the world order that is written in the West and Western philosophers and others, if it has been written about a thesis and an antithesis, Aurobindo comes here with the third option, that is synthesis. So he says if there is thesis, there is antithesis. That's how they have been fighting. If there is realism, then there is a neorealism. After neorealism, there is a neoliberalism. After neoliberalism, there is a constructivism. After constructivism, there is some other ism. After isms, these are all basically thesis and antithesis. Aurobindo says, put a full stop. I have a synthesis. Thank you for your patient listening. I know I'm standing before you people and the lunch. Anyway, it has got late, but we are still within the time that was given to us. Next few minutes, because it's like a movie. You see for 2.5 hours, but the work that has gone for, let's say, a year and a half with thousands of people working behind, we never come to know. This show also, if it's been for 2 hours, there have been quite a few people who have been behind this to see to it that it is at this particular stage. So it's my duty and the privilege to remember them and also pray our gratitude. That's the reason we do a vote of thanks itself. Now the Vedas say, na karmana, na prajaya, na dhanena, tyage naike amritatva manashu. It simply says, not through your deeds, not through the progeny, not through the wealth, but through a supreme sacrifice you become immortal. Amritatva manashu. Now what the message here is simple, that Aurobindo had everything. He could have a Western education. He achieved what he wanted to. He had a luxurious life. He could have become the closest to the British. He could have become whatever he wanted to in his life and spend the life of everything that a common or a normal human being aspires to. What he did is perhaps makes him Sri Aurobindo, not like any of us. That's why he's remembered in history, the epitome of that supreme sacrifice. So to him, perhaps we start with this, that at the very outset, we want to place our heartfelt thanks and respectful pranams to Sri Aurobindo and the Mother for giving us this opportunity to serve and also to be that nimitta matra which Krishna says that we are only for the namesake. We are only chosen for delivering something. That doesn't mean that we ourselves are something. We are only an instrument in that one. So they have taken us as an instrument. The Aurobindo chair works as an instrument to bridge what is expected in the society between Sri Aurobindo and the Mother and all of us. Perhaps the idea of the chair itself has become a reality due to the perseverance and relentless efforts of a Vice Chancellor, which you mentioned how the journey started, how the discussions happened and where it led to. Perhaps as we think about it, as Aurobindo himself says, the circumstances are very important, shocks are important. Maybe it took 150 years for us to get that shock and then perhaps institute a chair in his name to propagate the philosophy. And that has found its sincere reality in the form of Professor Gurmeet Singh doing all this for us. It is in his guidance that we work here and we have started this one. So our heartfelt thanks on behalf of the Sri Aurobindo chair to you, sir. Now consistency is not everybody's cup of tea. I use the word tea because I also only drink tea, I don't drink coffee. Sri Aurobindo Society is synonym of consistency. Sri Aurobindo and the Mother have such a Herculean task and they have given to the most capable people. One such personality is amongst us, Shri Pradeep Narangji, the way he crisped and the way he also put forward what is for the future. Speaking about what Aurobindo has done is one side of the story that everybody would do. Perhaps at his age and the position that he holds, what we expect is that he leads us to where we want to go and what we want to achieve. Perhaps that's exactly what he has done. His very presence has made us feel home, and this particular association will go a long way in realizing Sri Aurobindo's dream and what we want to achieve through this particular chair. So thanks for being here, sir, and being inspiring us amidst us. Shri Professor B.B. Mohanty, Dean, School of Social Sciences and International Studies of Pondicherry University, has been a constant support and someone who encourages youngsters to excel with his or her own works, with his down-to-earth nature and the personality that he is. He started off as if he did not know anything about Aurobindo, but the way he took us through so many things that he spoke, so many parallels that he brought in, examples that we brought in. So we appreciate your presence here and the time that you have given to us. Our heartfelt thanks to you as well. Now, when and when we collaborate and work towards success of any event, a program to take it to its logical end, we need people whom we can trust, collaborate, discuss, work in confidence. Perhaps that's exactly what has happened to Dr. Richa when it comes to Ms. Rishita Gupta, an IAS officer on special duty, Department of Rural Development, Pondicherry government. She has been a friend and a colleague with great support to Dr. Richa. We thank you from bottom of our heart for being here and making this event a grand success. We also had the fortune of having a book launch, which again, as I say, it's a circumstance. It's part of the strategy that has been drawn by someone else. As we say, we are only an instrument in this one. We happened to meet the Vice Chancellor on an occasion to discuss this particular program, and then we end up seeing Dr. Belu and a friend here. And it is here, the Shruti proposed that why not we have something like this. She introduced us to this particular book, and then the idea culminated to what we saw here, the release. Perhaps what better occasion than this one when we are having a chair itself. Perhaps it waited for that itself. So thanks to both of you for being here and sharing your happy moments with all of us. Now our esteemed panelists for today, the moderator, she is here, Ms. Priti. She led us through with all the happy moments here. And Dr. Belu is here, who is sort of a bridge between Pondicherry University and the Aurobindo Society. Rest all are there as office bearers to everything, but she is the one who constantly is in touch with us or connects with us with the program, sends us across what programs happen in the society, invites us. Thank you for being that bridge amidst us, and a wonderful lecture that you delivered. Mr. Shiv Kumar, the happy smiling man, perhaps he is the one who is enjoying whatever Aurobindo has given much more than what he is giving to others. I think that comes first. First you have to make yourself happy, love yourself. You know, that self-love is very, very important. Then only you can be happy. Otherwise, the frustration will be shown on the face itself, which he was not throughout. Perhaps he delivered a wonderful lecture. He elevated the situation itself with his practical knowledge in education. Thanks to you for being here amidst us and for efficiently chairing the session itself. We don't want to forget the help that has come for us from the Ministry of Education and the UGC, from Government of India. We, from Pondicherry University, on behalf of all of us here, want to thank all those who were involved in making this chair a reality, and we take a moment to congratulate them for doing this one. First is congratulations, because they have not done a phenomenal work that which should have happened much before, but that has happened at some point of time, and they have delivered. So we place our sincere thanks to the ministry as well as the UGC, the Government of India itself, for what they have done to spread the knowledge. We would want to thank the Tamil department, without whom perhaps the enthusiastic participation that they showed, and they have been involved throughout. Without them, this program would not have been this successful. Our thanks to all of them. Our Deputy Registrar, Dr. Ajay Babu, and his team, along with Dr. Pushka, who have been here since the morning, and they have been following up on a lot of things. They have been helping Dr. Richa to see this day. This was her first event on her own that she was doing. She was tensed and she was perplexed with the type of things that were coming up on a regular basis. I think a lot of them, including Professor Amresh, who helped her in drafting certain things. I remember some of those discussions that she had. So to all of you for being here and then helping us to see this day, thanks to each one of you. The DR Finance, Mr. Gautam Kumawat, was instrumental in a lot of things. I think that's, at the end of the day, how much ever we hate, I think it comes back to the wealth only. I think wealth of nation, wealth of each one of us, and he is the one who's holding that one, and he was rightly guiding us to go to that artha, and then we arrived in this particular day. So we thank him as well for doing this one. There are many more to express our thanks. Perhaps it includes Professor Raju and his colleagues for being here and also giving us this venue, and the electricity department, the EMRC, the PRO, the caterers, everyone who have been involved in doing this particular event, and for the great job that they have done so far. We are placing our heartfelt thanks to them. As I mentioned in the beginning, that was my opening remarks, why we need vote of thanks. That's exactly the people who work behind. There are quite a few individuals who have done this one. To start with, Mr. Vijay was an MC today, and he is the one single-handedly worked tirelessly with Dr. Richa, from making the poster to designing everything, and then seeing to that he is there throughout. Today morning also at 6 a.m. there was flower decoration. For everything he has been there. So my sincere thanks to him on behalf of Dr. Richa and the chair. And along with him we also have Priyanshu Kumar. He was more tense that he was not here than the exam. So hurriedly he wrote his exam and then he wanted to be here. He had an exam today, final exam. But then he finished that and early he came and he wanted to listen and be part of the event itself. So our congratulations as well as thanks to him on behalf of the chair. We have Deepak, Anmol, Ram, Abhishek and also Dinesh coming from different departments. This is nothing to do with only Department of Politics or anything. We have people from social work, we have people from Tamil. I think that's the idea, I believe, of the chair. It has to be multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary. We all work together, we grow together. That's what we are doing here. Now, whatever we have done, at the end of the day, we don't have people to listen to us. I think all of us as speakers, all of us as organizers, we have nothing to offer and we have nothing to gain out of it. So all of you coming from different departments, being here with patience and also at sometimes impatience, whatever the case is, at the end of the day, you'll all be happy because there is a lunch, and I want all of you to enjoy the lunch, feel good about it, but you have made this program a grand success. Many of you did not have chairs or facility to sit, but your enthusiasm to be here has made you people to even sit on the stairs, and you have been all here. And thanks for each one of you, our deepest gratitude, because it is for you people that we have done an event. Had we wanted, we could have happily gone and done in Aurobindo Society also. We could have done somewhere else also. We could have done in a hotel also. But the idea is to reach it out to you people. And the very purpose of the chair is for the emancipation of the humanity, more so you being the future of this particular university as well as the country. Thanks to all of you. Take care.